You can't wear it, I can't wear it. I've got one, but it's kind of like, they resemble that. Okay. Sorry. Start off August. And then September. Send stuff to you.
Good evening, everybody. I'd like to welcome you to the Monday, April 1st meeting of the Angola Common Council. We'll call the meeting to order. We have the roll call, please.
Councilmember Coffey here. Councilmember Olson here. Councilmember Sharkey here. Councilmember Rowe here. Councilmember McDermott here.
Hats off to the Parks Department this last Sunday. The Easter Bunny was in the park despite the inclement weather. Matt and Tabitha made a quick adjustment. They were very grateful to have the Commons building that we bought for them a couple of years ago. It worked out as a good venue. Everybody stayed dry, had a good time. The Easter Bunny did not have to go outdoors and get wet because the weather wasn't very good. Thanks for the police department, the Charter Police, for the bicycles they provided, and thanks to the Farrell Car Club, who volunteered. Many of their members volunteered their time to help the kids out. All the kids had smiles on their face. They had a good time. So despite the inclement weather, it was a good first opening event in the parks for this year. Can we have the approval of the March 18th minutes, please? Second. Motion second. Any discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? Unfinished business, ordinance number 1750, 2024, an ordinance amending the zoning map of the city of Angola, 520 North Wayne. This was previously ordinance number 1751, 2024, for the second reading.
Move to approve.
Second.
A motion second. Any discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? Ordinance number 1751, 2024, an ordinance amending the Angola Municipal Code, Title 13, Public Services, Chapter 13.15, Stormwater Management, for the first reading. This was tabled 2 weeks ago.
I would move to approve it.
Second.
Motion is second. Any discussion?
I want to apologize. I misread this thing when I delayed it the last time. I was there. I didn't read far enough. So I want to apologize to everybody.
Not a problem. Nice to know we had it thoroughly reviewed. Any other discussion? All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? New business, request approval of amendment number 1 to the agreement between the city of Angola, Indiana and Wessler Engineering for sanitary sewer rehabilitation in the amount of $34,100.
I move that we approve the amendment.
Second.
A motion is second. Any discussion?
I'm lost with it. Could you just tell me what it was about, what was going on?
Wessler Engineering doing our projects for our curative place pipelining that they did just beginning of this year from 23. In situ form, got the bid, and they came in and they tore down old clay lines like a brand new line when they're done, instead of having to dig the whole road up. Saves the city a lot of money.
Thank you.
We've done, I don't know how many miles or feet, but it's a lot. We just term it as slip line. I just didn't know what it was.
I didn't know who to ask, so I thought that was the time.
Good question. We have a motion second. Any other discussion? All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? Okay, we've got a whole slew of the SB ones to go through this evening. Review and determine if Duke and Billy Realty LLC, doing business as Duke Imports Incorporated, located at 1105 North William Street, is or is not in substantial compliance with the statement of benefits for real estate improvements, resolution number 2021-797 for 7 years. Isaac, you want to address any of these as we go?
Yes. Thank you, Council, for allowing me, and Mayor Martin for allowing me to come present these. You're right. I do have a slew of these, and I wish I had a nice April Fool's joke, but I don't. I do enjoy presenting these. All the companies that I get to work with, not only on behalf of the community, but on behalf of themselves, It's a good process to kind of get to know the company, but also get to know their struggles. And we've seen that over the years. Duke Imports is one of those companies that, again, unless you know where they're located off of William Street, you might not see them. You might not know what they do. But they're a pretty cool little company. I call them little, but in relative terms, again, and where their employment is with the rest of our industries, they are a little bit. And to what they do, it's not to belittle or lessen the impact that they have. This company, what they reported, and I do have Simmer with me today, one of the leadership members. They, again, reported back on the SB1s, and I submitted this information. My recommendation is for approval, but I do want to explain a little bit of some of the struggles that I'm hearing consistently with some of our employers about finding talent. It's been difficult, and they've experienced many of the same issues that many of our other industries have done. Like some of our other industries, they've done things like increase wages over time. They've added a 401k plan. They've added significant value within their benefits. There is a letter that's attached. I don't believe it's in your packet, but it has been submitted to the city as part of the overall record. So it is my recommendation that, being that they're in the middle of this abatement, it's a 7-year abatement on the real estate side. The tax year is 32, payable 33. So that's the timeline of when it goes. It is my recommendation for approval. But of course, if you have questions, I always point those to leadership, and they should be all the hard questions that you ask Simmer. But otherwise, I'll take all of them.
I move we find them in substantial compliance.
Second.
A motion second, any discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? Review and determine if Angola Wire Products Incorporated, located 803 Woolard Street, is or is not in substantial compliance with a statement of benefits for personal property, Resolution 2020-786 for 5 years.
This was done during 2020. Interesting time period for a lot of things going on. One thing I want to make note of is when they originally reported on their SB1s, this is a 5-year abatement, payable, or tax year 25, payable 26. They reported full employment in 2 locations, one of which is in Iowa. That was not caught at the time. So when you see their employment record that states 150, their employment in Indiana was around 100. So when you compare that to where their actuals are, obviously that makes a little bit more sense. Those employment count on this form would have not impacted or changed negatively or positively the abatement savings. I want to make that very clear. Again, we should have caught it at the beginning of the abatement process, but we did not. Otherwise, looking at their information and along with the additional supplemental information that Chris has provided us, they too, I would recommend in compliance.
I'll move that we find Angola Wire in compliance.
Second. Motion second, any discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? Review and determine if Enterprise Point LP, located at 907 South Wayne Street, is or is not in substantial compliance with statement of benefits for the real estate improvements, Resolution 2018-735 for 7 years.
This one's very easy to see where it's at and its compliance period because it's up, it's spread it out, it's being used. Total cost of the project just was north of 6.1 million, so well above their SBA. I too have recommended this one to be in compliance.
Any motion?
I move we find them in substantial compliance.
I'll second it.
A motion second, any discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Those opposed? All right, review and determine if Edema Industries Incorporated, located at 1305 Woolard Street, is or is not in substantial compliance with statement of benefits for personal property. Without objection, I'd like to do all 3 at the same time. Resolution, anybody object? Resolution 2020-789, 5 years. Resolution number 2021-801, 5 years. Resolution 2022-826, 5 years.
Thank you, Mayor. All of these, again, if you're looking at the actuals, they're all going to be the same because they're reporting on the current year. It's just depending on when the program starts or when the abatement actually starts. So first one, 5-year payable, start or end year is 26, payable 27. That's the abatement 709 ending digits. The second one in 21 is also the same payable year, 5 years, because it did get started on time. The first one started a little bit late. And then the third is a 5-year. If my math serves me correctly, that would be tax year 27, payable 28. I too recommend them.
We find Fedemast Industries in substantial compliance.
Second.
A motion second, any discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? Review and determine if Lamont Holdings Company Incorporated located at 1825 West Maumee Street is or is not in substantial compliance with the Statement of Benefits for Personal Property, Resolution 2014-845, 8 years.
Thank you, Mayor. This one is in its final year, payable 24, tax year 25. With that being said, we've seen similar issues, what I mentioned with Duke Imports in terms of trying to find the right employees or just seeing some turnover. This company is no different. They've seen some turnover and we had supporting information from Vaughn to that degree. So with that being said, they are absolutely darn close to where they reported on their SB1s with their total number of new employees and given that they have one more reporting year. So they'll be back next year for the final compliance. We'll write it out. Recommend approval.
Can I ask a question before you do the motion?
Yes, you.
And it's really just on the form. Okay, do you have the form in front of you?
Yes, I do.
I'm looking at section 3. Yeah, and maybe I'm just not reading this correctly. Current employees 45, that's made on SB1. Actual employees 45. And then it's number of employees retained 45, actual 45. And the number of additional employees, 16 and 12. I'm confused on math here. 45, 45, 16 additional, but it doesn't change.
The state of Indiana, like many states, does not make filling out forms easy. A lot of times there's little guidance too when companies fill us out. So we try to walk through that. At the point of the SBA, or excuse me, the SB1, we are looking at what their current employee count is and then what their new projected account for jobs is tied to that project. Normally, you would not see a retained number in there, but as the form gets completed, we have companies who will just carry the numbers down because that makes sense to them because they're all retained. In this case, looking on the SB1 column only, there wouldn't be any retained. So I wouldn't spend too much time there. On the actual, it's absolutely important. This shows turnover. This shows change in employment. The fact that they've retained 45 is good. Where we would dig into is, are those the same 45 people? And then the second to that is the new counts, the number of new employees. That would be in addition to that 45 retained. And then the question here is, okay, what activities, if you're not at your 16, what activities have you tried to get to your 16? And that's what we try to introduce into the record and some of the other documents we presented tonight.
So we're all clear on this. There's no question on a limited image. I live near them. They're fantastic people. And I was interested on the form.
Yep.
So I move it that they're in substantial compliance.
Great question, though.
Second.
Motion second, any discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye. Opposed? I think we're done for you for a little bit. Will you stick around for this evening? I'm gonna one more thing towards the end. I'd like you to hear. Presentation and discussion of traffic studies for the intersection of East Randolph and North Cross Street and South Superior and West Pleasant Street. I'd recommend we do them separately, but it's entirely up to you folks how you want to proceed.
I agree. Let's start with Randolph Street.
Okay, Randolph Street first. Randy, comment? You want to lead the discussion or?
Well, this idea came from an old council member, Richard Connect. He contacted, and I spoke with Dick this week also. He still strongly urges us to put a stop sign there, or in the alternative, to change the stop sign around so that it causes the traffic to stop on Randolph Street rather than across street. I read Amanda's study. I appreciate that, Amanda, and the numbers there. He strongly believes that there are some people that speed through there. And I drove down through there today just so I'd understand again. It's a downhill, it's a wide road, and it's a bypass. We've got those that exist already like that. People use Park Street as a bypass. And I noticed that through the years, the city's put up stop signs on Park Street, including a stop sign at the railroad track that doesn't exist at other railroad tracks and other intersections. We have that same kind of bypass situation where people try to run around also on Darling Street. And Darling, when I was a kid, was a one-way and didn't have any stop signs. And now it has, as I counted here, 4 with 4-way stops with the other intersections. Dick's asking for that. I'd ask the council to consider that. I understand what Amanda says here and what the engineering study shows, but I think we could fix the problem and make some people happy if we took that into consideration. I asked Dick to be here. Dick is 94 years old. He didn't know if he could stay awake, he told me. He said he would try. He goes to sleep awful early, and he didn't know if he could make it. So, well, obviously he didn't. And I had talked to him on the telephone. He said he'd try.
Amanda, would you like to address the?
Sure. So, I mean, I will, I guess, preface that the study I did is based on engineering design and engineering recommendation. So everything that we follow is from the MUTCD, which is essentially the Bible of transportation. That has your street signs, your pavement markings, any of those regulations on what you should and shall do. I will preface saying that the 2023 update, which has passed federally of the MUTCD and is going through currently in Indiana to be passed, makes it very clear that a yield or stop sign shall not be used for speed control. It is considered to be actually a more dangerous option. It's harder to enforce. We have other intersections where stop signs were put in for this, and then within 6 months, PD and engineering, we get complaints of people running the stop signs. So that's in there. As far as what I put in the study, so there's different warrants. There's different basically indicators. If you meet these criteria, then per the MUTCD, says, okay, this is an area that should be considered. So I went through, and that's what all these, A through E are, just the warrants, the criteria. And we had detector loops out. The street department put that out. We had those at this location out for 5 days. And so I think, for this location, the highest hourly vehicle volume was 59 vehicles. So at any time during those 5 days, the highest number of vehicles that were traveling down that road was 59. And the percent of vehicles that were speeding above 30 miles per hour was 19.7%. And of those speeders, 80% were going between 30 and 35 miles an hour. So your vast majority are going 35 miles per hour or less. And then with the software we use, it also calculates average speed, and the average speed was 25 miles per hour. So from my standpoint, from engineering standpoint, it does not meet any of those criteria. So I did not recommend a stop sign here.
Yeah, Amanda, I'm not going to downplay the form, but you said shall and should.
Mhm.
That's your recommendations versus what we have to do. We're not bound, this council is not bound by that manual. Am I correct on that?
I am bound by that manual.
But we're not. Am I sure?
Can you answer that? I don't know that I can answer that.
I wouldn't think you would be bound by those.
I think it would just come to the point if there is a traffic incident at that location, and usually one of the first manuals that an attorney may turn to when if there's a suit of some sort, is the Manual of Uniform Traffic Control Devices, or MUTCD, and that's where it could get, and maybe you could elaborate a little bit more
I think so.
specific, but I know in other communities, they've had that situation before.
Mr. Mayor, may I ask a question?
Certainly.
Amanda, what is a yield sign or a stop sign for if not speed control?
Accidents.
Well,
So intersection where there's been accidents and
A lot of times, the joke has always been, is I try to get something on the east side of the bridge. I've tried multiple times to get something. And it's almost a cop joke that we have to wait till somebody gets murdered or killed. I said, I don't think we're gonna get in that situation. We have to wait to, how many deaths does it warrant a stop sign or a stoplight or even a yield sign? So that's my question regarding should or shall, you know. Sometimes I think constituents are correct. They drive it more than we do. I mean, and because I had the same problem, or I had the same problem up in North Point Villas. And stop signs better than just racing through. I yield to you.
Jen, I don't think you're right on the law. If there's an ordinance and it exists and the ordinance was valid, or it was, even if it wasn't valid, it's passed and there was no challenge to it, it's the law. And I know attorneys will claim lots of things because I've dealt with attorneys for years and I know what they're like. But I don't think that's what the law is. And I hope Joe agrees with me.
I do.
That if there's an ordinance and we passed it validly, that you cannot sue someone because they follow the ordinance. And they can't sue the city because of an ordinance that they didn't challenge. I don't think that's ever been the law.
Any other comments from council? I feel we owe the constituent an answer, yes or no. So motion one way or another.
I would move that we entertain an ordinance and begin the process for an ordinance for this intersection. And we'll live or die with the vote, I guess. But I would at least like to see the ordinance presented not at the next meeting. I won't be here at the next meeting, but maybe at the May 1st meeting, present the ordinance and let it live or die with a vote.
You want to move to make a four-way stop?
Yes, please.
I'll second.
A motion second. Any further discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed?
Aye.
Dang.
Or dang, yeah.
Any roll call?
Yeah, do a roll call.
Let's do a roll call.
Member Coffey,
Yes.
member Olson,
Yes.
member Sharkey,
Nay.
member Rowe,
Yes.
member McDermott.
Nay.
All right, same issue on South Superior Street and West Pleasant Street. And this is I brought this one to the council for their action or another. Historically, Darling was a one-way street to the south. Superior was a one-way street to the north. At the intersection of West Pleasant and South Superior, there was a three-way stop because Superior was a one-way street. Years ago, the council, when I say we, made Darling Street a two-way street to facilitate some traffic problems that we actually had on Felicity. It did solve those problems. Not very long afterwards, we came back with South Superior Street. It didn't make sense to keep it a one-way. I think there was a time lag between the two streets, but we made Superior Street also a two-way street, took away the one-way. Rather than making it a four-way stop at that time, the stop sign was removed on Superior, and there is just a stop on West Pleasant. A constituent in that area has argued ever since we did that it should have been made a four-way stop as opposed to a three-way that it was, and then now a two-way. So that constituent has brought it back to me to ask the council to make it a four-way stop at West Pleasant and South Superior. And that said, Amanda?
It's just same situation, same recommendation, same warrants. On the last page, I guess to note, for this area, the highest hourly vehicle volume was 23 vehicles. Posted speed limit still 30 miles per hour. Only 7% of those vehicles were speeding. And of those, all but one were going between 30 and 35 miles per hour. And the average speed of all the vehicles was 21 miles per hour. So the average speed was 9 miles per hour below the speed limit.
The council have any other questions? The same situation, basically.
David, this is your territory. Are you familiar, I'm sure, with the intersection?
Yeah, but I don't see a problem with it. I mean, I guess I would have to go look at it again myself. I mean, it is right close to where I'm at and stuff like that, but I just never thought of it as a problem. But
I can speak a little bit to it because I spent 15 years in one of the houses there.
I'll let you out, huh?
No. And that was back when Superior was one way also, so I don't have apples to apples. But I don't remember any close calls at that intersection during my time.
We had a few that were down there, but it was mostly people going the wrong way when it was a one-way street because there was no posted stop sign going
The other way.
the wrong direction. But we did have some close calls. I don't recall anybody ever hitting, but we had some close calls. But we do owe the constituent an answer, one way or another, and so I would entertain a motion.
I don't think that in the first example, Randy, that was your district, your presentation.
Yes.
Councilman Rowe, if you're not sure,
yeah,
I would prefer you to be sure.
right, and I would prefer that myself. So I would like
I guess
to.
what I don't like putting these things off, but I would like to put this off so you can give us a recommendation. Is your district that's more attuned with than I was? Clearly me. I don't never go down that road anymore. Right. So I guess if you're not sure, I'd like to table this.
Yes, I agree. I would like to take a look at it myself and drive down there.
And the next
Look at it.
meeting, we'll have
Is that a motion?
I guess that's a motion.
I'll second.
A motion, second, any discussion?
I won't be available the next meeting, so I would prefer if we can table it to me. Amanda? Sure, you're bailiwick.
Whether it's today or May, my recommendation will be the same.
Okay.
So,
Sure.
All right. We have a motion, a second, and a request to table it till May 2nd. Any discussion? All those in favor signify by saying aye. All those opposed? All right, we'll consider that tabled. We're done with that. Okay, reports. Brian, do you have anything for us this evening?
Nothing for me, Mayor.
Kim?
I have no report, Mr. Mayor.
Mr. Steele, anything in the building department we should know about?
Not I can think of. No, sir.
Mr. Call, Chief Call?
No report.
Sue?
No report, sir.
Mr. Ritter?
No report.
Mr. Gaff?
No report, sir.
Amanda?
no report.
No report. Well, that was quick and easy. Request approval of allowance of accounts payable voucher 57,894 through 68,094, totaling $1,05,689.19.
Where to get it, Bill? Second.
Motion second, any discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
The council have any other new business? Councilmember Shipe, you're back there. Boiler up, by the way. You got the hat on.
Hammer down?
The commissioners meeting, that they're going to be discussing the engineering service agreement we discussed at the last council meeting. I believe our county council will be discussing it at their next meeting. Do you have any details of when and where that meeting is? Isaac, do you have any dates, times?
possible date was only April 9th that I was aware of, but nothing's.
April 9th, typically 9 a.m. is when they do that. I think they were, when I say they, the county council, we're going to reach, or excuse me, the county commissioners, we're going to reach out to NIPSCO and ask them to be present at their meeting to discuss this engineering service agreement. If you can attend, I would encourage you to do so, to hear what NIPSCO has to say. Other than that, that's all I had on that. Thank you, Isaac. Mr. Scheid, do you have anything else for us this evening? It's nice you had to be here. Nothing?
Good to be here.
All right. Go Purdue. Next council meeting.
Mayor Martin,
Yes.
can you talk about this?
That came in the mail. It's just a engineering or a letter from, I think it was IDEM, about a sewer project that we're doing in our district, and it was addressed to the council, so I just ran copies and gave it to them. It's the Calvary Lane.
It's the east
Sewer.
lift station, so that project's currently out for bid to be opened at the next council meeting. We're eliminating a lift station and installing gravity sewer, so that takes IDEM approval.
All right, if there's nothing else, we'll, the next meeting is April 5th, next day, April 15th. We are in there.
Comment for that.
Yes, I'm sorry.
I was able to watch a live burn exercise. Awesome. It was super job. They do an excellent job over there.
Great homemade training facility he's got out there.
I recommend you guys, if you guys get out there, to witness one and be a part of one. That's awesome.
Thank you. Anybody else, anything else? Then we are adjourned, and thank you very much.
Which is it.